a rain dance in Mexico's famine-stricken Copper Canyon, last refuge of the Tarahumara Indians, once footrunners to the Aztec kings, now running to live. A 24-hour race through California mountains, techno-athletes in America's top ultramarathon. "100 miles of rugged peaks and burning canyons, an ultimate test of human endurance. Facing famine and death, the Tarahumara went to California to challenge the best runners in America. This is their story. Writing in 1902, the Norwegian explorer Carl Lumholt said, "No doubt the Tarahumaras are the greatest endurance runners in the world. A Tarahumara will easily run 170 miles without stopping." How can they run so? Look at their home, the Copper Canyon. Chasms, sheer cliffs, the towering pinnacles, one of the wonders of the North American continent, deeper and wider than the Grand Canyon. The Tarahumara came to these canyons to escape persecution by Mexicans intent on taking their land. They are peaceful, mystical people, farmers content to grow corn and follow the traditions of their ancestors. But deforestation and climatic change have led to drought. Drought has brought crop failure. Famine may yet fulfill Carl Lumholtz's century-old prophecy that the Tarahumara are doomed to extinction.
We've had 4 runners' wives die in the last year of malnutrition, I can't say starvation at this point, but malnutrition and cholera. And we've had probably 8 children die within, the runners that we work with come from a broad set of villages, 8 or 10 villages, so we're probably talking about 25 or 30 different individuals.
For 5 years, Rick Fisher and his wife Kitty have worked to draw international attention to the worsening conditions in Copper Canyon by taking runners to race in ultramarathons in the United States. The village of Chiquita has produced some of the best runners.
In the Raramuri tradition, the people of the team run for the village, and within the village we must maintain tranquility and team spirit in English.
The Fishers have come to meet with the governor and select a team to race in California in June.
Siempre ha sido la tradición de los Raramuri correr para el pueblo y no para sí mismo. Eso no es igual en los Estados Unidos.
Well, historically, the Tarahumaras have been known as extraordinary runners. The name for themselves is Raramuri, which means the foot runners.
Juan Herrera is the Tarahumara's best runner. A farmer, he lives with his wife and children in a house he built himself, on land given to him by his father. There are no cash prizes in American ultra running, but the Tarahumaras can use sponsorship money to buy corn. Corn is the staple food of the Tarahumara. Without it, the people starve. Juan had always wanted to be a great runner. At Leadville, Colorado in the summer of 1994, he proved he was amongst the best in the world. Wearing rubber sandals fashioned from scrap car tire, Juan Herrera took on the top ultra runners in America. The 100-mile race developed into a contest between Herrera and 33-year-old Californian Trason. the greatest ultra runner in the world. He had never raced in the United States before, but the young Tarahumara farmer from Chiquita overtook Trason and went on to win in 17.5 hours, breaking the course record by more than half an hour. 6 other Tarahumaras finished in the top 12. This year, a leg injury will keep Herrera out of the Western States 100 in California. A new champion must be found to take on top Americans like Trason. The same year as the Leadville victory, the crops failed again in Copper Canyon. The sponsorship money bought corn to help avert a famine. The Tarahumara's prowess as runners has preceded them at the Western States race in California.
Well, I've followed the Tarahumaras for a long time. These are the classic endurance long-distance runners of the world. They are legendary in their right. They are genetically geared for this type of an event. They have done this for centuries. They run through the mountains without exhaustion and wearing Goodyears or whatever retreads they had on their feet there to go out here and set these records. The legend of the Tarahumaras precedes them, not only at Leadville, but also in the literature and for centuries. And I think that we're going to see a good competition.
The record for the fastest time in the Western States 100 is held by California engineer Tom Johnson.
The Tarahumara phenomenon, these guys have done some races in the United States and had some success, particularly last year. It'll be interesting to see what they can do in person. They obviously don't have access to our modern training and new shoes and fancy sports drinks and everything else. They have a simple lifestyle, and from what I understand, most everything they do is on foot. So everything they do is training, even going from here to there. Ultimately, I can't imagine that there haven't been some advances in sports medicine and training technology, and that ultimately that would prevail. But seeing someone who's raised in such a different condition and then brought here and going to run, I'm fascinated to see what the outcome will be.
Tom Johnson will not run this year's Western States, but he trains daily on the trail.
The first 30 miles are all over 7,000 feet. The next third of the race is the extreme steep canyons, the heat. The first 2/3 are the warm-up, and the last third of the race is where the race happens. That's where the best of your willpower and the best of your effort has to come. A lot of people make it 2/3 of the way and then fall apart.
The commitment that's involved in this running is horrendous. You hear of all these crazy people that go out and run 100 miles and you think, God, why would anybody want to do that? And once you've run a 50, then you say, maybe I could do 100. And then you do 100 and you say, man, this is a lot harder than running a 50. What makes you tick is what you find when you run 100 miles. And you also see that from everyone else around you. If you run 100 miles with somebody the whole way, I guarantee you will know more about that person than if you were married to him for 10 years.
Even Chrissy Juria would learn nothing running with the Tarahumara. Their language is silence. Karl Lumholtz called them the last telepathic people on Earth.
I feel very strongly that there is some telepathy in their culture. We began to notice it in Copper Canyon. Nothing was said between anybody, and then all of a sudden a whole group of people would start to do things together. I also saw very clearly with for instance, the Mexicans, that when they were dealing with the Tarahumaras, that there's no connection whatsoever. So there's no communication, even though they're speaking the same language, which is Spanish. Whereas the Tarahumaras, and Kitty and I, working together with the Tarahumaras, are learning much more and more how to be able to anticipate and actually pick up the ambient environment, so we're moving more in harmony with the way they're feeling.
In the week before Easter, the Tarahumara celebrate their festival of spring, Semana Santa. For 3 days and nights, they dance to the rhythm of ancient drums, fortified by homemade corn beer called tezuino. Semana Santa is the most important festival of the year. It is the expression of the coming alive of the earth after its winter sleep. The people gather in front of the simple Pueblo church above the village. The Catholic Church has had only limited success in converting the Tarahumara. Today, the shaman or witch doctor is at least as important as the priest. It's believed the body painting represents smallpox brought by the conquistadors that decimated native populations in the 16th century. There's a sense of urgency to this year's festival. Food stores are bare following last year's drought. The dancing and drumming are a frantic prayer to the traditional gods of the sun and the moon for rebirth and renewal. This year they are also calling for Tata Dios, as the Tarahumara call God, to look with favor on the efforts of the runners soon to depart for California. For Rick Fisher, Semana Santa embodies the telepathic nature of the Tarahumara culture, with its origins in the primordial rhythms of earth, sky, and seasons.
They start in the spring just beating the drum a little bit, and then over the period of 2 months, the crescendo of the beating of the drum increases to the point that at Semana Santa, God is going to wake up and fertilize the earth. The ritual is actually called the Passion Play. It takes after the Spanish Catholic ritual of spring, which is the crucifixion of Christ. But actually the Indians themselves believe something quite different. If God wakes up happy, then he'll make rain, and the rain will follow the earth, and corn will grow, so the children will be happy, God will be happy, the earth will be happy. So this is the cycle of Semana Santa.
But a century after Carl Lumholtz predicted their extinction, the cycle of Tarahumara life is breaking down.
Over the years, the Tarahumara's land has been taken away to the point that now they're in these remote canyons where the subsistence agriculture is no longer viable. It's the survival of their culture is it's questionable. I mean, it's on the downslide, and I don't know that running or anything else is gonna save it. But at least for the short term, if they can make money running, that's a lot closer to their culture than picking apples.
It's June, but snow still lies on the slopes of California's Sierra Nevada mountains, setting for one of the toughest ultramarathon endurance races in the world.
Western States 100 race consists of 100 miles over mountainous trails. Over the course of the 100 miles, there's 18,000 feet of elevation gain and 22,000 feet of elevation loss, which comes to an overall 40,000 foot elevation change. Western States, like almost every other sport, has its home field advantage. The majority of the runners are engineers, physicians, attorneys, computer scientists. In 18 years, we've only had 18 runners outside the state of California who finished in the top 10.
Three weeks to the Western States race. The Tarahumara team arrives at the Mexico-US border.
How long y'all gonna be?
30 días.
30 days, okay.
The hero of Leadville, Juan Herrera, is injured. The Tarahumaras need a new champion.
Bautista.
24-year-old Gabriel Bautista, a farmer from Copper Canyon, could be the one to inherit Herrera's mantle.
Sí, claro.
This is the first time some of the Tarahumaras have been outside Copper Canyon.
There is nowhere on earth that we can go to experience culture shock to the same degree and in the same direction that they are. And they strike me as being incredibly brave to get in the car and come to a place like this, which, you know, they do think we're pretty crazy. When we first started in Mexico, there was this terrible prejudice against the Indians to the point where we had difficulty getting them served in a restaurant. The waitress would come up and literally hand Rick and I menus and walk away. And we'd have to go pull her back and say, now give menus to these guys. And then she'd come and take Rick's order and my order and try to walk away and pull her back. I mean, it was that bad. And but in the U.S., of course, everybody was, you know, these are really neat Indians. How wonderful, what a great thing. As long as they were losing, that was fine. Once they started winning, and I was surprised by this because I thought if there were any community that would really accept the Tarahumara, it would be the ultra running community. But we started hearing these little bits and pieces, and people would actually make nasty comments as they walked by us, like, you know, I feel sorry for them, and things like that. And, you know, it hurts because it's a lot of work.
A century ago, Carl Lumholtz noted that Tarahumara runners took nothing except water and ground corn.
This is the wonder food. Pinole. Ground corn. And they mix it with water. And it seems like about the last 50 miles, that's all they want and all they need. And then this is interesting too. This is the herb that they use. I don't know exactly how yet, but with the corn to make tezuino.
This is what makes it ferment. So they grind the corn, which is what makes the muck actually and they add this and it ferments over about a 3-day period.
Yeah, we've never actually watched the process before ourselves, so
yeah, we're looking forward
this will
to
be
it
a
on this
first.
trip. Yeah.
Throw it in there?
They have a mash that they make out of the corn and whatever food is available down there, and they sustain their weight and their body fluids with that particular type of nourishment. We in our high-tech Western world tell people that if you're going to run this race, you're going to have to consume about 30%, maybe a third, 33% of your body weight in fluids during the course of the event.
Dehydration is always a hazard. But this year, another obstacle confronts the runners. The first 24 miles of the Western States Trail still lie under deep snow.
We have had probably the worst winter in California history. The trail presently is really inundated with snow. This is the heaviest snowfall that we've ever had in the Sierra.
Why does the route change?
Because it was too difficult.
The Tarahumara have never run in snow, and in the week before the race, their support team grows increasingly concerned about their safety on the remote mountain slopes.
So the route still runs by Duncan Canyon?
The team has communicated this concern to the race organizers, but has received no reply. Reluctantly, Fisher decides to buy the runners Western running shoes for the snow. For those who didn't run at Leadville, this will be the first time they have ever exchanged their traditional sandals for shoes and socks.
Okay. I would go with a 7.
As well as 24 miles of snow, There will be a 13-mile detour along paved road. Running on asphalt in his rubber sandals gave Juan Herrera problems at Leadville. The runners in Western states will have to wear running shoes for at least the first 40 miles of the race.
Yeah. So good? Okay. All right. I think we found him a pair.
In a California park, the locals are given a taste of Tezuino corn beer.
Good stuff.
Good stuff for a race, right?
Come on.
While the girls prepare tortillas, the runners make new Huarache sandals. Karl Lumholtz, writing at the turn of the century, noted that Tarahumara runners wore sandals made of animal hide. In more recent times, they have used strips of scrap car tire, carefully made to measure and attached to the feet with leather thongs. The Tarahumaras do not own cars. The tires are brought from city dumps, often many hours away on foot over mountains. Naturally, here in California, the raw materials are more readily available. The Tarahumara try out their new sandals by demonstrating a traditional bull race. Racing with a wooden ball goes back many centuries. Today in Copper Canyon, the bull race is rapidly disappearing. Only racing in America can save Tarahumara running. One day to go to the race. Runners check in at Squaw Valley Race Headquarters.
This is Madero.
You want me to hold it?
No, have him hold it.
Welcome.
Problems of communication with the race director appear to be over.
Yeah, it worked out real nice, and the main thing was their safety, and he was in agreement with that point concerning safety, and so he worked out. He doesn't want to show favoritism toward the Tarahumaras, and we agree with that. It's just because of the language problem, we need a little extra attention just in translating in the aid stations, and he said that'll be fine.
There has never been a death in the Western States race, but the medical teams take no chances. Every runner's vital signs are checked and recorded as the tension builds.
Yeah, that'll be perfect.
A lot of snow up there. It's going to be, the first 24 miles is just survival. Try not to get hurt. And then after that, then hopefully be able to keep it cool for that 13 that we're on the road so that we don't go out too hard. And then maybe it'll get crispy critter hot in the canyons, which I love. And from there, we'll just go on and see what happens. I think it's going to be really hard for the Tarahumara Indians because they haven't been wearing shoes. They've been wearing their sandals. So they're going to have to go in shoes. They can't wear sandals into the snow. The other problem is that they haven't ran into snow. So they're in two areas where they have no idea what they're getting themselves into.
This on this wrist or that wrist? Either one.
Which one do you want? That one? Why don't you
This one here, one on this, you want to put on that one? You want on that one? Okay.
I think what we all ought to do is just form a line behind me and introduce and just give your name to our Tarahumara friends as we go by, and gently, 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 gently shake their hands, like this, just gently. Rick Fisher.
Rick Fisher. Good luck.
Just walk right by them. And please don't leave afterwards because we want to give you guys some instructions.
You have almost a classic face-off here amongst the engineers and the other people of the Western world here who are sophisticated in their running technique. These type A personalities who go out here and train, run fantastic distances on weekends. We'll see how the world of endurance runners faces off the environmentally conditioned, the technically high or the high-tech individuals against the genetically geared individuals. I think it's a classic.
You guys are going to be in the lead. Please follow the red flags, follow the yellow flags, follow the yellow ribbons. 350 other people are going to follow you. Just stick to the prescribed course.
It's nearly 5 a.m., 6,500 feet up in California's Sierra Nevada mountains.
2 minutes to start.
With seconds to go, 371 competitors line up for the start of the race. Among them, 4 Tarahumara Indians from Mexico, hoping that success will bring desperately needed food to their hungry people.
And check in.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
From the start at Squaw Valley, the trail climbs steeply up to Emigrant Pass at 8,700 feet. It's made more difficult by the snow, which covers the first 24 miles of the race, almost the length of a normal marathon.
I want to go west.
Lots of water.
How bad is it, Ryan?
It's going to be like a long, long way. We're going to be up there for a while. But it's going to be fun.
It's almost 5 hours before the runners descend below the snow line. When the leaders do emerge at Duncan Canyon Aid Station, last year's winner, Tim Tweetmeyer, is in second place, with all 4 Tarahumaras right behind him.
Good. Okay. Good. I don't know.
Espérate un rato.
Okay, the other shoes. Is that what you're supposed to ride in these? Or what? Yeah. Is that what you're supposed to ride in these? Or what? Yeah. Okay.
Vámonos. Arriba tenemos burrito. Es pinole, ¿eh? ¿Quieres más agua? ¿Más agua? Este es pinole.
The Tarahumaras have survived the most treacherous section of the trail for them, the 24 miles of snow.
They look good. They look in great shape.
Our runner gained 2 pounds.
And Tim Tweetmeyer usually has a pretty good lead, and they're right on him. I mean, this is great. Oh no, I think they might surprise you.
28 miles into the race, Gabriel Bautista leads, with Tim Tweetmeyer on his heels. Like every American runner, Tweetmeyer has trained throughout the year for this event. The Tarahumara don't understand what training is.
The Tarahumara do not train for these races or for their own races, for any races. They have no idea. That's one of the questions that reporters are always asking, well, how do you train for this? And the Tarahumaras, that's one reason they get the label of being non-communicative, because they don't answer it because they have no reality from which to answer it. They do not train.
The Tarahumara's Huarache sandals can cause knee damage on a hard road surface. They must continue to run in their Western shoes. "37 miles into the race, the end of the paved detour. Number 432, Gabriel Bautista, is the first runner to arrive at the aid station. Tim Tweetmeyer is just a minute behind him. All 4 Tarahumaras will pass through the aid station before their support crew arrives with supplies of panoli and water. Anne Trason, the world's top ultra-runner, arrives at the aid station shadowed by 2 Tarahumaras. Last year at Leadville, Colorado, she was beaten into second place by the injured Tarahumara champion, Juan Herrera. Traffic and poor conditions on the narrow mountain roads have delayed the Tarahumara's support crew. They are late reaching the aid station. Their runners have gone.
We got another aid station 3 miles down the road and one at 6 miles down the road.
But you say that there's nothing we can do in the 3 miles. You said we can't go down to the 3 miles.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. Nor can you go to Last Chance.
Where's the
They're
next?
it's just too congested down there. We just can't allow.
Where's the
down.
next place they can go?
Mission Bluffs. Yeah.
I don't know where that is.
It's on the other side of the canyon.
Is there any way we can contact the people in Mission Bluffs to let them know that they don't have their supplements that they're supposed to have, which is panoli?
Well,
that's why we're coming up here to give them panoli, and we were late.
Well, you can check with the communications people up there. I'm sure they've got right up here in the van. I'm sure they have.
I'd like to know if there's any way you can contact the people in Michigan Bluffs that are with the Tarahumara Indians, let them know that they only have 1 water bottle and they don't have any panoli at all. And they will not let us in to any of the other aid stations between here and Michigan Bluffs.
What, they won't let you go to them?
They won't let us in.
Why not?
Because that's the way the rules are. But if our people know how serious it is that they've run this whole canyon without only 1 bottle, they only have 1 water bottle.
Check down at the check-in tent. They can tell you which one.
Well, I think there is a problem here because the aid station said all 4 passed already.
A few hours ago, the enemy was snow and ice. Now in Last Chance Canyon, the mercury hits 110 degrees Fahrenheit. More than 50 miles into the race, and at last the Tarahumaras are able to change out of their running shoes and into their huaraches.
Okay, va a ganar. Están en muy bien. Como uno.
A few miles further on, Martimiano Cervantes will drop out of the race with an injury to his knee.
Just need our runner.
It'll take a while.
Oh, he was 2 miles out 20 minutes ago.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Well, that was the report we had.
20, kid. He said about 10.
Really? Felt like 20.
Okay. Well, if that's true, he's doing good then. He's doing good.
How's he doing with water?
Well, he came in completely dry.
Yeah.
See, they missed him at that aid station, the one where we got lost that night. That's where they missed him, and he's got a big part of his toe off.
Why?
Well, because the shoes, they couldn't get him out of the shoes.
So now he's in his huaraches?
Well, he's in there now. Yeah, but he had to run 20 miles in those shoes.
Damn.
Every single guy, they got. The other guy.
Sam?
At Forest Hills, 62 miles into the race, Anne Trason, in second place, has built up a significant lead over her Tarahumara competitors. Remembering her defeat at Leadville, she is determined to stay ahead of her most dangerous Tarahumara opponent, Gabriel Bautista.
Make him stop here and drink and do everything we can to get his weight up.
When Bautista finally arrives at Forest Hills, he has fallen back to 8th place and is 20 minutes behind Anne Trason.
Good job, man. Bautista. Greetings. Good job. Great job. Perfecto. All right, we'll see ya. Good luck.
For the last 38 miles of the race, each runner is allowed a pacer to keep them running and safe as fatigue and exhaustion increase. At Rucky Chucky River Crossing, 78 miles into the race, Tim Tweetmeyer is in front, 10 minutes ahead of his nearest rival. The American River is swollen by late melting snow from the high Sierras. For the first time in the history of the race, it is too dangerous for runners to cross on foot. Gabriel Bautista has made a dramatic recovery to second place, but Anne Trason is less than a minute behind him. Gabriel has never seen a river in full flood. He has never set foot in a boat. At this vital stage in the race, the prospect of a river crossing is daunting and unnerving. Once across the river, Anne Trason is able to gain vital seconds on her less experienced rival. The leading runners climb the steep trail up the wall of the canyon. The light fades. The long day's journey into night is about to begin. few minutes after 10 p.m., Tim Tweetmeyer is the first to arrive at Highway 49 crossing. Each runner's weight has been monitored throughout the race. A fall of more than 3% is a warning that the athlete is not taking enough fluid. At 5%, he will be ordered to rest. 7% signals that vital organs may be about to fail and leads to immediate disqualification. Tweetmeyer leaves Highway 49 with just 6.5 miles to go, the strain written on his face. And Trason is next to emerge from the blackness, just 3 minutes behind Tweetmeyer.
What's your weight? What was your starting weight?
No, she's
107?
fine, thank you. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
105.
Yeah, that's what it was last time.
Okay. Ann? Okay, right. Okay, what do you need? Okay.
Ann Trason has run too hard and fast for her pacer.
What happened to me? Ann Trason. You beat me. I did it. Hey, this is the War of the Pacers, Ernie. How you doing? All right.
The War of the Pacers.
Hi, Jackie.
What happened?
Oh, yeah. Cramps. Hey, what happened? Ann Trason.
I know.
Just bad cramps. Oh, she kicked my ass.
It's 10:24. Gabriel Bautista arrives at Highway 49, 11 minutes behind Ann Trason. He too has outrun his pacer. After leaving the river crossing, he lost the trail and with it, precious time.
Ya andan nomás unos minutos. ¿Cómo se siente? Parece muy bien. Okay.
121.
Okay, hay que tomar.
3%. Okay.
With his weight down 3%, he must drink Panoli.
Descansa un rato, descansa. ¿Dónde está Jaime? Está atrás.
Quedó atrás.
Okay, va a ir con usted, Rafael. Entonces, ¿quiere tomar pastilla?
Sí.
Para dolor.
We got Gatorade. You want to do a fit here?
That he goes, give him his he needs bottles in those. Va a ir con Gabriel.
Foco.
Muy bien, Gabriel.
Auburn, California, defending champion from 1994.
100 miles and more than 18 hours after setting out from race start at Squaw Valley, Tim Tweetmeyer approaches the finish.
When he started this race this morning, he was 36 years old, an engineer. Tim Tweetmeyer wearing bib number 1. From Auburn, California, the United States of America, Tim Tweetmeyer at the finish. We're awaiting the official time.
Tim, there's something special.
The finest ultra runner in the world. Miss Ann Trason, age 34, postgraduate student from Lexington, California. Ann Trason is on the track. This lady has won the Western States for the past 6 years. She finished second overall last year and set a new course record. A 6-time female ultra runner of the year. The woman's world record holder at 50 miles, 100K, and 100 miles. Staying 50 and second overall at Leadville at the finish line from Kensington, California, Ann Trason. 25 years of age when this race started this morning. Number 432, Gabriel Bautista. Upper Kansas region of Mexico. Our neighbor to the south, please forward, young folks. Wearing number 432.
Running in his first Western States 100, Bautista finished just 12 minutes behind Tweetmeyer and less than 7 minutes behind Trason. It would be more than an hour before the next runner crossed the finish line.
The official time for Tim Tweetmeyer, 18:34:59.
Gabriel's Tarahumara teammates, Madero Herrera and Martin Ramirez, would both finish in the top 12.
No, I was not. I was very nice.
The official time.
They were harassing us. But that's okay. We just ran past them. Over here.
By their performance in the United States, the Tarahumara have earned a place in the sporting pantheon. But the reason they came here must not be forgotten. They run so that their famine-stricken people may live. No one knows that better than Gabriel Bautista. 2 of his daughters are amongst the dead.